This is episode number 72 at the BS Machine. Welcome back, guys. I'm Tommy Kendi. Hope you've had a good week. Man, what a week! Can you believe Shane Warne is no longer his? I'm sure you've heard by now. This is going out on Monday, but yeah, whenever you're listening to this, this is that week when Shane Warne really sadly passed away. So it's so tragic. And I reckon I feel probably like most people where it's just like, it's so weird. It's almost like it didn't happen. I don't know why. Shane Warne just had this epic essence about him. And I was, I was lucky enough to hang out with him a few times back in the day when I was playing in bands and stuff. And he was always such a lovely guy, and I know so many people that know him or have hung out with him, and it's really tragic. Like it feels icky. It feels weird because I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard one. Only it just feels sad because it just feels like he went way before his time, and yeah. So if there's anyone listening that knew or had any dealings with Shane Warne, deep condolences. It's a tragic thing that happened to him, and he was such a big human, big personality who he just impacted so many lives through his sportsmanship, but also through his just the way that he lived. He honestly was a really cool dude that just lived really authentically. And yeah, so I don't know. I just find it sad and it's weird, and it just doesn't feel right that Shane is no longer living in this world. But I'm sure that he's gone to somewhere else other than this physical reality, and he'd be looking down at the world, going, "Cool." So that's what it's all about, is it? So, Shane, if you're up there listening, there's billions of people that are right now feeling you and feeling your sadness and feeling this passing that you've moved through. So thank you for all that you've brought to the world and brought to the globe, and all the lives that you've helped shape and shift. But today, that's got nothing to do with today's podcast. I just thought I'd sort of put that out there. That just sort of came out. But today's episode is all around the title of it is basically, are you shoving shit under the rug? Which basically means, are you that saying where you just keep shoving shit under the carpet, under the rug or whatever, and there's all these things in the back of your mind that keep sort of sitting there and you're not doing anything about it. And these things usually pop up in terms of thoughts like, or they might, I should do something about that. Or there is, there's certain things that could come up in feelings, or in like feelings of guilt, or feelings of feeling shame, or just sadness. So they can pop up in all different ways, but this idea of a lot of us do it, and it's so easy to do. And it's like, it's sort of like, you know what? If I'll just fucking deal with that later. It's just too much. It's too hard. I just don't want to fucking deal with that. So you shove it under the rug, and I think that we all do it. And whether we feel like we can communicate those things or not communicate them, is actually irrelevant, because we definitely all do these things, and we just keep shoving more and more and more under the carpet until something blows up or something bubbles up, and then we're forced to deal with it. So my view on this is that, wouldn't it be worth, I guess, actively and consciously just looking under there, lifting up that rug and just going, you know what, I might just take things out one by one and just fucking deal with them. And there may not be too many things on there. There could just be, it wouldn't be too many things. Like for some of us, it might just be 2-3 things. It could have to do with family, it could have to do with relationships, could have to do with work. It could have to do with your health, and for me, for example, one of the things for me is I was brave enough to quit the ciggies. I got rid of cigarettes quite a while ago. Well, actually not that long ago, maybe 8-9 months ago. And I was really proud of myself. And that was one of the things that where I sort of sat back and went, you know what, it was one of those things that was just sitting there. And I'm like, dude, you don't even like doing it anymore. So just fuck the ciggies off. And you lead a really healthy lifestyle. And the only thing that's really left is to get rid of the cigs. So it was one of the things for me. And I got rid of them. But in the meantime, I've just to, I guess, take the edge off, I started smoking these vapes, and so now I'm sitting here going, fucking hell, Tom. So yeah, great, you've quit the ciggies, so you don't smell like shit anymore, and you don't smell like ciggies or whatever. But now you're on the vapes, you know. So I sometimes have the vapes just to take the edge off or whatever. But now I'm sitting here going, well, why am I doing that? And so it's one of those things that I've sort of shoved under the carpet. Another example for me is another thing I've sort of shoved under the carpet is, you know, if you've listened to my podcasts and the episode previous to this, you would have heard in a few of the podcasts that I've had a really, really fucking weird and tumultuous relationship with my dad. And these days, you know, I sort of hang out with dad once a month, once every 2 months. We go for lunch, we hang out, and every time I leave, there's this feeling of guilt that I have within myself, because it's almost like when I leave speaking to my dad or having lunch with him, all his worries and all the things that he fucked up in his life and what he's paying for now and what he's sort of dealing with, I feel guilty, because there's a part of me that goes, oh, that's my fault. And I don't know why, because I know it's not, but still there's this feeling of guilt that sits within me where I'm like, why do I feel guilty? And then I don't want to explore that, you know, so I shove it under the carpet. So there's all these things that we have. And I'm sure as I'm talking about these things, you would probably be listening and go, yeah, you know what, Tommy, I've definitely got a few things that I've shoved under there. And, you know, another thing could be where you just have, you know, if you're in a relationship or a friendship or something, and you feel this sort of weirdness unfolding with another person, with it, you know, and you're sitting there going, why is this weirdness? Is it something we need to talk about? Is it something I need to look at within myself? Like what's really going on here? And so all these things that happen on a daily basis, that happen on a weekly basis, when we don't want to deal with it, or we're like, oh, that's probably a bit too hard, or like going deeper into it, it could feel like there's a sense of time and effort that might have to be involved in order to rectify or to bring light to that situation. And it just feels too tensiony, like too much tension and too much resistance. And we just go, nah, you know what, I'll deal with that later. But from my experience, and I think you'd agree, and then most people would, when you keep shoving those things under the carpet, at some point they're going to come to the surface. So as I mentioned before, it's so much better to consciously make a choice to look under that rug, whether it's through writing things down. Like you could literally write at the top of a page, and the coolest thing about writing stuff down in your diary is it's got nothing to do with anyone else. And it's so simple. You just open up a book or a fucking piece of paper, you grab a pen and you just start writing shit down. And it tells you, it's right there. It comes out of you onto the paper. But the problem is, I think unconsciously we all know that if we write those things down or actually bring them out of us onto physicality, which would be pen to paper, then it would ask us to take action towards it, wouldn't it? Because it's actually come out of the rug into the paper, and we're looking at it going, like, oh fuck, I've actually look at this shit now. So that's I guess the first step, where you have to actually bring out and have a look at what's actually there. And so those things are, I think, really important, because, you know, I mean, if you were to move forward in life and expand and really step into this into the a really powerful human being, step into being the best version of yourself, then it's going to be a lot harder if you're carrying all this baggage with you. And so I was actually talking to my girlfriend about this morning, and Nick, if you're listening, how you going? She's one of my biggest fans. How good's that? She listens to my podcast every week, but maybe she'll miss this one. Who knows? But I was actually talking to Nick about that this morning, where we were sort of talking about this very subject, where it's like, you know, I'd rather just not look at it as in things that trigger us, or things that we feel resistance towards. And we're both talking about this whole thing of like, nah, do you know what? I actually don't want to look at these things, because then it would ask me to actually deal with it, and that might hinder me moving forward. But I think if we were to be in our true power, and we were to really look at us, we would intuitively know as human beings, I definitely do, that those things that are shoved under the rug and we don't want to deal with, that it feels like a ball and chain. Because if they're coming up in your thoughts and they're coming up for you, whether it's on a daily basis or weekly basis, then it's holding you back, because it's not giving room for your mind to and your thoughts for you to consciously choose, like to be in your creativity, to be in your genius, because these things are constantly holding you back. It's like a wire that's attached, or a ball and chain that's attached to you. And when you want to move forward, you have to have clarity. And within clarity, there's this thing of an empty bowl, you know, and that's true clarity and true creativity is when you can start from an empty bowl. You can start from this place of emptiness. And obviously we're never going to get to that place of pure emptiness unless we are, you know, incredible meditators and whatever. But there's ways to land in that place where you can actually, you know, go forward. And these things about rectifying these things that you've been putting off, it's not about you picking them up and going, I need to fix this or anything like that. But it's more about bringing it out into the consciousness of who you are. So you're not hiding anything. And when you're not hiding anything, and I'm not talking about from the world, I'm talking about from yourself, because really when you're saying, nah, you know what, I'll deal with that later, you're basically hiding from yourself. And this is one of the biggest, I guess, aha moments that I've ever had about myself, is that when you do bring things to the surface and you actually are brave enough to look at them, then it puts you into this situation where you're consciously aware of what those things are. But and when you're consciously aware of it, then you can choose whether that is something that will hinder you moving forward. And if it does, you either cut cords and fuck it off, or you go, do you know what? No, I need to heal this. I need to inject this with a bit of love. And so what I mean by injecting that with a bit of love is, let's say, like with my father, right? How I have this feeling of guilt every time I leave my dad. I know he fucking loves me. He knows I love him, but I have this feeling of guilt, right? So in that, if I was to be a powerful human, I would, next time I see dad or tomorrow, and you know what, I'm actually going to do this. So I'm going to stick to my word. Next time I see him, I will need to, and this just actually came to me. So this is the beauty of bringing things to the surface, because it actually gives you this intelligence. It tells you what to do. It's what's most obvious. So what I'm going to do is I will call my dad and see him, and I will, wholeheartedly, I will literally say, Dad, do you know what? This is what I'm feeling every time I leave you. I feel this sense of guilt, and I feel this sense of heaviness. And I'm just going to put it on the table and let him know. And I know that by me doing that, he will see that is I don't think he'll try and fix me or anything like that, but I think he will come to the party as well in terms of his vulnerability. And I'll just say, Dad, every time we leave, I feel a sense of guilt, and I feel a sense of sadness, because I feel like I'm carrying the shit where you've fucked up in your life, or the things that you've done in your life. I'm somehow now carrying these things with me. And so I want to talk to you about that, and just see what both of our involvement is in that. So I'm going to do that, and I'll report back next week of what happens. I'll remember to report back and let you know how it goes. But I already know it's going to end up in a really beautiful space where it'll give Dad the opportunity to air his feelings. And that's what I believe injecting these situations with love involves, to have the ability to front up to a situation, to a conversation, and one, have it, but not from a place of not from a place of guilt, like you're doing this to me, or because of you I'm fucked up. That's not what this is about. This is about being a powerful human and actually fronting up in your authentic vulnerability. And that's creativity at its best. And I already know that once I do that with Dad, it will open up all this space in me that I'll be able to fill up with probably more love for my girlfriend and more love for my friends and whatever else, because that sense of guilt won't be sitting there, and I'll be able to fill it up. And maybe it'll even shift the relationship between me and Dad. Who fucking knows? So look, there are so many things that you can do. And even when I mentioned health before, I think there's a lot of people, just because I work a lot in the mindfulness game, and it's crazy how many people I see in the corporate world when I work with corporate teams and whatnot, how many people I see that they're just so fucking stiff. They're just like shoulders up. They're so stiff. And I just see that the pain and the bullshit that they're carrying. And it's all because they are constantly shoving shit under the carpet, and it's all mental. It's all stuff that could probably be rectified, or probably be healed, or done and dusted with either one conversation, or it may not even need to be conversation. It could just be cut the cord and fuck it off. So when I'm working with these teams and whatnot, it's so cool, because once they have, even just through gentle, if we're doing yoga, if we're doing these gentle stretches, you see people just like, that you see them open, and it gives them the opportunity to just soften. And yoga, mindfulness, meditation, breathing, all this type of stuff. The reason that it's so important these days is because people aren't just carrying their own shit. They're carrying their family shit. They're carrying, all this stuff that's going on in the world. Fuck, man, all the rains and the floods. My God, it's so tragic. The shit that's happening in Russia, Ukraine, you don't even know what's true. Like, I don't fucking believe anything that I see in the media anymore. The only reason I know the floods and shit are happening is because I've got mates up there, and they're like, mate, this is terrible. And so my trust in media, news, and especially governments has basically gone from, I don't know, from not caring to basically now going, holy shit, these guys are literally fucking lying through their teeth for I don't know what. Look, I'm not a anti anything. I'm not an anti-government person. I'm nothing. I'm just basically calling the obvious. And there's very little trust I have for the people that are apparently looking after our best interests as communities, as nations, and as human beings. So anyway, just thought I'd drop that in there. But yeah, so it's even with that. I mean, there's just so many things that people need. And just this little story before I go any further, where the other day I did this yoga. Let's not call it yoga. I'll call it a stretching class with a corporate company in South Melbourne. And it was really, really interesting. There was this one lady in there, and we're doing a really slow stretching, just slow stretching basically. And there was this lady in there, she could not stay fucking still for, I'm not joking, for 1 second. As soon as I said, all right, guys, just get into the pose and stay still, she was wriggling it around, moving around. I was just going, wow, like what must be going on with this woman? And I walked over to her. There's probably about 40 of us that were doing this thing, and I was leading the whole group or whatever. I walked over to this woman and I just put my hand on her back, and I felt her just soften. I really felt her soften just by having someone's hand on your back, this just feeling of authentic support. And I leant down and I just said, are you okay? And she said, I can't breathe. And I said, you know what? Just see if for the next 10 seconds you can be in total stillness, almost like a statue, and just concentrate on your breath. And I kept my hand on her back. It was such a beautiful moment. These are the reasons why I do what I do, for these moments where people give themselves away to a higher, they give themselves away to a higher consciousness or a higher power. And then they soften into that power. And then subconsciously, below the surface, they realize that it was them choosing to get involved and be still. It's in that choice, that choice beneath the surface where they actually let go. It's fucking done. And they suddenly become part of that calmness. They become part of that peace. And I felt her whole body soften, and she stayed still, not for 10 seconds, for minutes. It was so fucking beautiful. And she came up to me after the class and she said, oh my God, I have not felt like that in years. And I wish I could have spent more time with this woman, because with her, I mean, imagine the amount of shit. I could tell straight away she's carrying her family shit. You know, she would, oh God, I won't even go into it, but man, what a beautiful human being after that class she was. And it was such an honor to see her almost float out of that place. And so it's I highly recommend that. You know, it's very simple steps. It's first off for you to first know that and this is no lie, this is no me just harping on about stuff. This is me telling you my experiences. This is me learning through my experiences. So I'm just sharing with you what fucking works and what doesn't. And this shit works for my clients. This shit works for people I work with. It works for me. Works for people that I trust and look up to, my mentors. So this is the shit. It's like, in order to move forward, we need to have space. And if you're shoving shit under the carpet, you're cluttering up that space. So the ease of what you can do when you become a powerful human, things become easy where you have those conversations from an authentic, vulnerable place. And what you also have to be mindful of is you're not having those conversations to achieve a result. You're having those conversations to simply clear stuff out, with the end result of being that you just being in your true and authentic nature, that you're putting things on the table. But don't for 1 second think that you're going to be able to control how the other person receives that information. They're going to receive it the way. So I don't know, I might even have that chat with Dad, and Dad might look at you and go, what the fuck are you talking about, Tom? Like, this is your shit, not mine. I don't think that'll happen, but maybe it will. It's going to make no difference to me on how that conversation pans out. All I know is that intuitively for me, I got this thing of like, you know what? I'm going to pull this stuff out from under the carpet with my dad, the guilt, the sadness, and me carrying his shit. I'm going to have a conversation with him, and it's almost like I'm going to not give it back to him, but I'm just going to be like, you know what? I don't actually need to hold on to this anymore. This is your stuff. And I won't hand it back to him, but it'll just be like, you know what, Dad, I don't need this anymore. And I fucking love you. And I just want to let you know how I feel so that we can inject this whole thing with love between us. And so yeah, that's where I was going. So in order to do that, I guess the obvious steps for you, with you listening in on this and what this podcast has brought up for you, the obvious steps for you right now would be to really create even after now, like you finish this podcast in a few minutes, and even now, like having this ability to go, right, do you know what? That brought something up for me, so I may as well go into it. And all you would literally need to do is grab a piece of paper and pen, write it on your laptop, whatever you want to do. Get your phone, put it in your notes, whatever it is, and just put down maybe 4 or 5 things that you've been shoving under the carpet. And as you just saw it with me, as you listened to as I pulled it out from the carpet, this whole thing with Dad, I got a result straight away. Obviously, it's just, this is what you have to do. And so as you bring it out, this will happen for you. And you have to be courageous, because if you're like one of those people that go, no, I don't need to look under that, I'm just going to leave that where it is. It's going to come bite you on the tuchus. It's going to come bite you on the butt. It really will. I know with me, every time I push it under the carpet and I just let it go. So nah, worry about that later, mate. Nah, it's going to come up and bite you on the ass. That you can be very certain of. And it's probably going to bite you on the ass harder than what you think. And if it's not with that particular situation, it's going to bite you in the ass somewhere else in life. And yeah, so it just is what it is. So it's up to you whether you deal with this stuff or not. And if I was you, I'd deal with the big stuff first, because then you just feel awesome and you're like, yeah, look at me go, girl, look at me go. And you can just imagine, I just had this vision in my head of me pulling out the big stuff from under the rug. And I just had this, obviously I'm not racist at all, because I'm a wog and all that type of stuff. So I'm far from being racist, but I had this, just this vision of this big, black woman or African-American woman going, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Nuh-uh. Imagine that, like when you bring out the big shit, this just going, no, you didn't. Anyway, just thought I'd share that because that's what popped in my head. But yeah, so yeah, so after you've taken this out and you've written it out or you've brought it to the surface, then just look at each one. Just choose 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. And look at each one and just ask yourself, like, what can I do here? If I'm being truly honest, and I'm telling you now for myself, I'm having that conversation with my dad, even though that scares the shit out of me, because it might bring up tears, it might bring up shit in me, and I'm a super emotional guy, so probably will, but I'm prepared to show that to my father. Because he brought me into this world, and I think I deserve this ability to step into my power on that level and in that sense. And so I guess moving forward, it's up to you whether you allow yourself to step into your power in that sense for yourself, wherever in life you've got it. If it's health, you know exactly where it is. If it's in your career where you're like, I know I have to leave this job. Uh-oh. What are you going to do? What you fucking going to do? If you know, you know. And that inner knowing, you can't fuck with that. If you know you have to do certain things, or you have to cut certain things off, or that you have to bring certain conversations to the surface and be authentic, be vulnerable, all that type of stuff. Vulnerability does not make you weak. It makes you fucking amazing. Vulnerability is one of the most beautiful things you will ever, ever, ever experience in your life. Think about when you see, I don't know, dogs or animals, and they're just so vulnerable and beautiful, and they front up exactly how they are. There is no putting shit on. well, I've met a few dogs that do, but they're different. They're different. But most 99% of animals, they front up in really wonderful and vulnerable ways, and they force you to step into your own love. So anyway, guys, I think if I provoked some stuff in you, amazing, and I really hope that you take care of. Vacuum the carpet and then lift it up and pull all that shit up, all the carpet. But otherwise, I'm very blessed. I never really know where these podcasts go, or where these episodes go, but I'm super happy with this one because it made me, I guess, look in the mirror a little bit, and I've got a good action point. So thank you guys for listening in. Love your guts, and enjoy the rest of your week. And if you have a spare $50, chuck it up to the guys in the floods. I made a donation this morning, and I think it's super important that we help out our community. So thank you, guys. Have an epic day, epic night, whatever you're doing on this Monday. Enjoy your week. Take ownership. Be responsible. Step into your fucking greatness and get shit done the way you know how. Love ya.